That's right. We let this lady be in charge of Homeland Security when even the wildlife has to shudder when she pulls into her own driveway. Makes you wonder what could be the cause of such erratic behavior.
I'm on meth.
I'm on meth.
I'm on it too.
Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video and even share if you can. My name is Reese Waters and I'm troubled. I gotta be honest with y'all. I may have been wrong about something. Apparently, Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. might not be the most unqualified members of this Trump administration. I know how hard it is to believe that this guy.
And anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters.
Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild.
Or this guy.
You propose more than $11 billion in cuts to local and state programs addressing things like infectious disease, mental health, addiction, and childhood vaccination. Did you personally approve those cuts?
I'm not familiar with those cuts. We'd have to go.
There's like more than 50 pages of cuts that I actually went through.
The cuts were mainly DEI cuts, which the president.
There were a lot, but I'll give you, for example, about $750,000 of a University of Michigan grant into adolescent diabetes was cut. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Can walk around with their chest puffed out thinking, well, at least we ain't Kristi Noem. That is where we're at. Now, I've talked about the mindset of keeping somebody that's worse than you around you at all times, because then you could always point to them and at least they're not the worst. You know what I mean? My friend Cedric has always been, you know what I mean? Because they see he Cedric for the streets. You know what I mean? So the fact, if I'm not with Cedric, you should thank your lucky stars. You know what I mean? I expect relationship brownie points just by virtue of not answering Cedric's calls at 2 a.m. I mean, we are friends. That is where we're at with this cabinet and this administration. And the reality is, I got to be kicking myself because I should have seen this coming. She showed us everything before inauguration.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I've met with many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that that was adjusted.
I waited up till 3 in the morning. Where were you last night? Yes, I'm not here to talk about my meetings with leaders in the pole community.
Kristi Noem is hitting back at the firestorm raging over her shooting her dog to death.
That's right. We let this lady be in charge of Homeland Security when even the wildlife has to shudder when she pulls into her own driveway. Makes you wonder what could be the cause of such erratic behavior.
I'm on meth.
I'm on meth.
I'm on it too.
Huh? What?
Now let's just get a couple of things straight. Number one, we have seen from the Trump acolytes a open desire to mimic his behavior. In the instances where you are caught in 4K with something that you cannot prove, and in fact, we can prove the opposite, never admit it. Never take a step back. Never admit fault, even when there is literally nobody else to blame.
You agree, though, that this is doctored, is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
individual with
credibility,
law
and
enforcement.
I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sir, I
doctored?
am taken quite seriously
Is it
because
doctored
I approach
or
my
not
job
doctored?
with the importance that the president has given me to do
I understand.
my job.
Is it doctored or
One
not
thing
doctored?
that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built,
Madam
against
Secretary, I have a
individuals under
7-year-old,
the
a
same
6-year-old, and a
protocols.
3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you
Enrico
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take
don't,
her,
sir.
can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
We have seen this behavior from Trump, and we have seen it from his acolytes. The only difference is they're not Trump. For all the criticism that I levy at his feet, he is a hell of a salesman. Kristi Noem couldn't sell me shoes off the floor at Marshall's. And I will pretty much buy anything off the floor at Marshall's. She couldn't do it. Let's get that straight. The second thing is that the significance of that, when you have somebody who is tasked with leading one of our security organizations, when we understand coming in that she cannot be trusted. Just think of the ramifications of somebody in charge of Homeland Security we know we can't trust. And by the way, she's not even trying to infuse us with any level of trust, because if she was, she would have came clean. We know they love nothing more than to brag. If she could prove these things that she said, she would say it with her chest. The fact that she's being so evasive is so blatant evidence of its untruthfulness, but she doesn't even respect us enough or have enough decency to admit it, so we might be able to build some trust moving forward. Now, as hard as that was for me to watch, right? Because I honestly, my TV, nothing in my living room was safe when I was watching that. I'm like, we really just gonna let her get away with all of this? As hard as that was for me to watch, you might be asking yourself, how would an exchange like that, right? How would it go with her trying to sell garbage and an actual interperson conversation? How might that go? Well, fortunately, we found out.
This weekend, the president made the remarkable statement that he, quote, doesn't know whether he has to uphold the Constitution. You, however, have taken a different position, both in your confirmation hearing and when you took the oath of office. You said that you were committed to complying with the Constitution. Do you still stand by that statement?
Absolutely. I believe President Trump
Excellent.
as well.
Let's start with Article 1, which gives Congress and only Congress the power of the purse. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law. But this administration is freezing, terminating, and even clawing back federal grants and awards that were already signed into law. These are taxpayer dollars that were appropriated by Congress for the specific purposes that we laid out. So, Secretary, let me ask you, do you believe the administration has the authority to subvert appropriations law to freeze and terminate congressional funding?
The administration and the Department of Homeland Security used our authorities that we have to evaluate every grant that was in front of us and meet statutory requirements, but also to make sure that they were being spent appropriate.
So, of
What
course,
we
the
did through
president
these
is within
grants
his
was to
authorities.
make sure
Ma'am,
that
this
we
is
went
my time.
forward.
Thank you so much.
Ooh. I like her. Yeah, I like her. That is Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, by the way. And by the way, Congresswoman Underwood, I'm sorry I interrupted. Sorry.
Of course, the president's within his authorities to drive policy decisions within the bounds of federal law and the Constitution, but that's not what you've been doing. What I'm asking is whether you believe you have the authority to ignore appropriations law. Do you believe that the Constitution gives the executive branch unilateral authority to withhold funds appropriated by the legislative branch?
We have evaluated grants to make sure if they're being spent appropriately, and work that is underway and was authorized has continued. Other grants that have not been started and have not been authorized or obligated, we have reevaluated. And I think you're talking specifically about grants potentially within FEMA that were non-disaster related grants.
I'm talking
Those
broadly, ma'am,
programs are
and
being-
Article 2 does not give the executive the authority to withhold funds. period. And multiple courts have weighed in to agree. Multiple courts have ruled in agreement. Congress controls the power of the purse. That is a fact. That's not a question. That is a fact.
I'm sorry, Congresswoman Underwood. I just had to point out the gentleman right next to Kristi Noem, because he looked like he hurt by what she going through. That's how you look in public. When there's an argument going on in public, where you just like, I don't even want to be in frame right now.
And so if the president disagrees with certain spending, Congress passed the Impoundment Act to create a legal process to seek rescissions, and we expect him to follow the law. This administration is not just ignoring the constitutional power of the people's elected representatives. It is also violating the fundamental right of individuals. Do you believe that the Constitution grants everyone in our country the right to due process, including non-citizens?
The administration has the authority to.
Ma'am, I'm looking for a yes or no question. Yes or no. Do you believe the Constitution? Yes, ma'am. Do you,
we have
ma'am?
Not conducted in
Reclaiming my
any kind
time,
of
Mr. Chairman.
Time is yours.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what you reclaim your time. Kind of like Kim Jong-un reclaimed his time. And while we reclaiming time, can we reclaim Cricket's life as well? And the GOAT?
Secretary Noem, I'm just looking for a yes or no here. Do you believe the Constitution guarantees due process to everyone in America?
Due process is exactly what this Congress lays out.
Yes or no?
It is,
Okay,
and the
ma'am,
tools
I'll
that
take
you
that as
give
a
us
no.
on due process
Excuse me,
is
I'm trying,
afforded to.
ma'am, I'm trying to ascertain your understanding of the law as it applies to your department. And you as its leader should be able to give us a yes or no answer, because judge after judge has ruled that the law is not being followed. Do you believe that the U.S. government has the authority to deport American citizens?
No, and we are not deporting
great.
U.S. citizens.
I'm so happy to hear that you do not believe that the law gives you that authority, because the federal government has no authority under U.S. laws to deport any American citizen. And as I know, everyone viewing this hearing today knows that several American citizens have been deported to date.
That is not
Secretary
true.
Noem, that was not a question. Secretary Noem, that oath that we both swore before taking office was to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Not the president, not a political party, the Constitution. And that's what we're going to keep doing here at the Appropriations Committee. Thank you. I yield back.
Woo! Woo! That was a whole lot. That was a whole. That was almost like when you see somebody take their child in the bathroom during early morning service. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. You know what I mean? It might, what you see might be ungodly, even though we're in the Lord's house. They just got to work it out. You know what I mean? Let it get it out their system. Oh my gosh, that was a whole lot. A lot to unpack. Now, for one thing, the fact that she talked about how multiple American citizens have been deported, and Kristi Noem actually tried to say that is not true when we know that that is the case, is remarkably consistent with the person that we found her to be before she took office. Like, I don't know why you would even argue that point. Like, you went to the courts to try to not have to bring them back. Now, why would you have to bring anybody back if citizens ain't been deported? You know what I mean? I don't know why you would. Anyway, does this make Kristi Noem uniquely qualified to try and sell some of the garbage that they're trying to push? We have seen the GOP try and grant Trump the ability to deport American citizens by stripping away all manner of due process. Apparently, she ain't been reading her briefs that she got up there and gave those answers, but I'm sure those are the answers they would have wanted her to give. She is the last person that you would want in this spot, but by virtue of that, the best person that they would want in this spot to try and sell this. Now, all of a sudden, this is starting to make a little bit more sense how this all came together. And if you think they were done with Kristi Noem, Chris Murphy got in that Noem too. Huh? What is it? I said got in that Noem, as in got in that, just because of where all of the stuff came from that is, I'll explain it.
I say this with seriousness and respect, but your department is out of control.
Nah, Chris Murphy. Nah, pull the respect back. Pull the respect back. No, this is just with seriousness.
You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are illegally refusing to spend funds that have been authorized by this Congress and appropriated by this committee. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow, as spelled out in your oath of office. You are routinely violating the rights of immigrants who may not be citizens, but whether you like it or not, they have constitutional and statutory rights when they reside in the United States. You have also canceled citizenship and integration grants, which help lawful permanent residents become citizens, helping them take the citizenship test. I know your goal is to try to make life as hard as possible for immigrants, but that goal is not broadly shared by the American public. That's why Congress, in a bipartisan way, for decades, has funded this program to help immigrants in this country become citizens. Now let's talk about why encounters at the southern border are down so much. This is clearly going to be your primary talking point today. You will tell us that it represents a success. But the primary reason why encounters are down is because you are brazenly violating the law every hour of every day. You are refusing to allow people showing up at the southern border to apply for asylum. I acknowledge that you don't believe that people should be able to apply for asylum, but you don't get to choose that. The White House doesn't get to choose that. The law requires you to process people who are showing up at the border and who claim asylum. Why? Because our asylum law is a bipartisan commitment, an effort to correct for our nation's unconscionable decision to deny entry to Jews to this country who are being hunted and killed by the Nazis. Our nation, Republicans and Democrats, decided, wrote it into law, that we would not repeat that horror ever again, and thus we would allow for people who were fleeing terror and torture to come here, arrive at the border, and make a case for asylum. I understand that my Republican colleagues on this committee don't view the policy the way that I do. My Republican colleagues don't share my level of concern for the way that this administration treats immigrants. That's fine. But what I don't understand is why we don't have consensus in the Senate and on this committee on the decision by this administration to impound the spending that we have decided together to allocate in defense of this nation. We as an appropriations committee, we work interminable hours to write and pass a budget. This budget is really hard to write and pass. And so we make ourselves irrelevant when we allow the administration to ignore what we have decided. And then when we look the other way, when the administration rounds up immigrants who are here illegally and have committed no offenses worthy of detainment, we also do potential irreversible damage to the Constitution. These should not be partisan concerns, destroying the power of Congress, eroding individuals' constitutional rights. This should matter to both parties.
Now, of note here, he opened with respect. But I cannot disagree with any of the points that he made about how aggressively and arrogantly they have been moving. And you tell me where the respect is in all of that action that has been taken. The respect for our Constitution, the respect for their oath, the respect for this country, the respect for their fellow lawmakers, which would be you, and the respect for the citizens, which would be me. Why are we constantly playing this game of respect when they disrespect you on the regular? This is basically a parental-child relationship that you have entered into with MAGA, and I never signed up for that. Huh? No, we need to send some more in. We ain't through.
I suggest that rather than make these statements here, that you and the Trump administration make them in court under oath, because despite what you just said, the federal district court whose judge is hearing this case right now said, and I'm quoting, that the administration has provided no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other terrorist activity. I'm not I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for his due process rights.
Sir.
Let's just evaluate here, because one of the issues that I have taken with the Democrats is their failures in messaging, okay? Senator Van Hollen is talking about how he doesn't vouch for the man. He's vouching for his rights. He's vouching for the ability for everybody in American soil, on American soil, to have due process. And he's also saying that this was unjustified, the manner in which he was deported. Now, the way that that has been painted by the right wing has been that they love a gangbanger, right? There's the left is for gangs, right? They're for here. All of a sudden you're pro gang, which is extremely transparent. Obviously, they're advocating for everybody, for everybody's due process. The people that are watching Fox News talk about how they are pro gang are the people that would be protected by the moves that are being taken by the Democrats, but yet they paint it that way. Conversely, Kristi Noem is talking about, why don't you talk about the victims of this kind of violence, and as opposed to being on the side of the perpetrator. And if that were at all legitimate, there would be a lot more energy for the victims and the perpetrators of violence that is caused and responsible, that can be laid at the feet of homegrown criminals, specifically the far right. We've seen them take a blind eye to that. If they wanted to be the party of law and order, they had an opportunity. They sat there and let everybody from J6 out of jail. Those that haven't been rearrested right now. So by virtue of them arguing that point and making this effort to shine a light on the victims of immigrant crime, what they have also communicated is that they have little to no interest in the crime that we see every day. They have little to no interest in protecting us. They just want to make political points by virtue of who did these specific crimes. There's also the point of the crime rates of immigrants. Because granted, the first thing you want to do when you're in a place that you're not supposed to be is commit crime, right? That's definitely the first thing that you want to do. I know whenever I sneak in the VIP, I all of a sudden just start knocking stuff over. It is completely illogical. But this is what they're selling, and they are extremely good at selling. Not Kristi Noem, but the right wing is extremely good at selling. Think about how wild it is that you have people watching Fox News and far right media whose rights are being advocated for by the Democrats, right? Who are being openly told by the right wing, we don't care about protecting you and your communities unless we can make a political point because it was done by an immigrant. They're watching that and being on the side of MAGA because they painted you as pro-gang. That's what I'm talking about, Democrats. I mean, really, like, that is one. But then y'all want to get mad because Jasmine Crockett talk a little bit too loud. Like, soft.
The grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well, Madam Secretary, it is not credible, Madam Chair. It is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true. And let me change this a little bit. On the other hand, I am very concerned that DHS is now dramatically overspending funding that Congress has not provided. If you were a CEO doing that, I don't think you'd be in your job long. We need accountability and we need answers. And that includes informative responses to oversight questions sent to the department over the last 3 months. I am ranking member on this committee. I have worked with every member of this committee. We take our responsibility serious to fund your department and others. We need to have answers. We need to have accountability. And we need to make sure you're not overspending money that you were not allocated.
But then they told me they wanted to cut wasteful spending. Wasn't it waste, fraud, and abuse? That y'all was supposed to be going after waste, fraud, and abuse, and now she all out of budget. Huh. That's crazy. I think she spent that on veneers. Yeah, I think she spent all that money on veneers. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, that makes now we know. And by the way, while we're talking about disaster relief, this can't be the same agencies that the MAGAs were threatening and then circled around back and prosecuted them and have them up at Capitol Hill why they don't want to go in certain neighborhoods now out of money. How about that? How about that? That is a FAFO if I have ever seen one. Now, fortunately, there are enough of us with sense, the ability to put one word after the other that understands just how nonsensical this woman is. Not everybody is drinking the Kool-Aid. In fact, the parents of one of the victims that they love to parade around, God forbid they care about any other crimes, the parents of one of those victims has even called her out. Cruel and heartless parents of murder victims slam Kristi Noem after DHS secretary cites their daughter in speech. The parents of a murdered woman have lashed out at U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem after she relocated a speech in Illinois so she could deliver it outside the victim's former home. They literally have no shame. Community organizer Emma Schaefer was fatally stabbed in her Springfield apartment in July 2023. The suspected killer, Gabriel P. Calixto, remains at large. Secretary Noem had been scheduled to speak on Wednesday in front of the Illinois governor's mansion, where outspoken Democrat J.B. Pritzker resides. Instead, she moved her lectern outside of Schaefer's old residence as she criticized the state's sanctuary status and attempted to use the latter's tragic story as an example of migrant crime, claiming that Calixto had been in the country illegally. Her actions drew a sharp rebuke from bereaved parents Kathy Schwartz and John Schaefer, who attacked Noem in a statement of their own hours later. Our daughter Emma radiated love and light everywhere she went and for all people. Even as a child, she was a friend to everyone and someone who spoke up for the less fortunate. She dedicated her life, her career, and her free time to causes of social justice and equity. That was just who she was. To see her used by Secretary Noem and others to advance a cruel and heartless political agenda is not just deeply painful to us, it's an insult to her memory. Noem's words are in direct conflict with who Emma was as a person. Emma built up community and stood with all members, including immigrants.
Were you aware that Emma Schaefer's family is across town at the protest against disappearance and against this?
No, I wasn't aware of that. Is that her immediate family?
Yes,
Yeah.
her mother.
Yes.
Now, we have disreputable members among us. We can't all be winners. We have those among us. But those that would seek political gain from people we have lost in such a sloppy manner as to be called out by the victim's parents. You know what I mean? Like it takes a special kind of trash. Like it really does. You tried to go in front of her old residence. Like you haven't done enough cosplay up to this point. What they said, I guess it's just another casting for her. Just another casting. They sent in her wardrobe. She got the monthly wardrobe where they give you a certain amount of dresses. She got the monthly wardrobe and wigs. She got the monthly wig thing and the monthly fall. So she put all that. She was like, where am I going? Where's the net? Oh, outside it. Got it. That is what we're talking about here. And if you want to know just how wild the disconnect is between reality, like real life, and the stuff that they're trying to sell, there's this story right here, which might be my favorite. Noem's honorary degree sparks protests. Meanwhile, a student she's trying to deport earns a doctorate. Before I even dig in, is anything more MAGA than that? Is anything more MAGA than receiving an honorary degree for showing up and trying to strip the rights of people, one of whom just earned a doctorate, which would tell me she's of a lot more use to our society than one Kristi Noem, who you opted to decide to give an honorary degree. Now, I know they toss those around all the time. I probably got an honorary degree from Phoenix Online at some point. Yeah, I got, what was the, oh no, it was ICDC. It was ICDC, yeah. Shout out to Lil Romeo. He got my honorary degree from ICDC. And I got another honorary degree from Everest College, because that guy got me up off the couch.
Look at you. You're all grown up. I see you got off the couch. Man, I'm very impressed.
He got me up off. I know about honorary degrees, Kristi Noem. I know what those are worth. An international student in Western South Dakota overcame Kristi Noem's attempt to stop her from graduating Saturday while hundreds of people protested on the other side of the state, where Noem received an honorary degree and delivered a commencement speech. The international student is Priya Sasina from India. She received 2 degrees from South Dakota Mines in Rapid City, a doctorate in chemical and biological engineering, and a master's degree in chemical engineering. Impressive. Noem's U.S. Department of Homeland Security, which she has led since resigning as South Dakota governor in January, has been trying to deport her since last month, asserting that her permission to stay in the country should be revoked because she was convicted 4 years ago of failing to move over for flashing yellow lights, a misdemeanor. The action is part of a broader immigration crackdown by the Trump administration. I want to restate something. She received 2 degrees from South Dakota Mines, a doctorate in chemical and biological engineering, and a master's degree in chemical engineering. They're asking that her permission to stay be revoked because she was convicted 4 years ago of failing to move over for flashing yellow lights, a misdemeanor. Meanwhile, this lady was put in charge of Homeland Security when it was revealed that she couldn't even honestly put together an autobiography and was roaming the streets of her neighborhood with a shotgun. Do I need to tell you any more about how white supremacy works? Do I need to? Do I need to tell you any more about how this works? Kristi Noem is traipsing the country, cosplaying law enforcement and casting aspersions on this group or that group, pretty much whichever one the Trump administration directs her to, which she has to do because Lord knows that's the only reason she's employed right now. That's what we have as the head of Homeland Security.
In MAGA world, the crazier you are, the more qualified you are. So let's take a look at all of the many hats that Secretary Kristi Noem wears. Here's her first look, Border Patrol. Here she is, all decked out in her Border Patrol garb. You can see she goes from, the hat, and then she's got on a bulletproof vest. And then the very next day, she decides to go a little country with it. A little country and Western gnome. Here she is dressed up as a plumber. She's got tools and, she's under the sink, her hat on backwards, still has the hair extensions. Here she is as a dental hygienist. Here she is, 25,000 open positions. Here she is. She has the laser glasses on. She's doing a little side pony this time, latex glove. Next up, here she is as a construction worker. There she is. She's got the plans. She has on her hard hat. And these are not photoshopped, you guys. This is real. Here she is as a cowgirl. Pumps.
It looks like she's in Yellowstone, like she was auditioning for a part in Yellowstone.
Here she is as an electrician. Here we go, Highway Patrol.
This is unbelievable.
Here she is as an accountant. Okay, now look at the glasses. I'm telling you, I think she's got some sort of dress up kink. This is our last one. Here she's cosplaying as a dog lover.
Is this the one she shot?
Now, by the way, shout out to the I've Had It podcast. I just found them and I've thoroughly enjoyed their work, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more of it, because when it comes to Kristi Noem, we've all had it. You know, we have all had it. It takes a certain kind of person to burn through not only all goodwill, but all good name and all credibility by May. That is what we've done. By May. It was over by May. But there is some good news, Kristi Noem. Apparently, she is only in 4th place when it comes to the best odds to be the first cabinet member to leave in 2025. We got Pete Hegseth, Howard Lutnick, and Scott Bessent in front of her. You know what? I'll take that bet. My money's still on Kristi. She ain't gonna make it. She ain't gonna make it. You know how much money they gotta be spending for her cosplay? If anybody, JD Vance not gonna stand for that. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give us a like and a share if you are so inclined. And I know a number of you guys are not subscribed, and I know that because it tells me. I can go right there and it tells me how many are not subscribed. And I feel like if I'm subscribed to magazines in 2025, which was not intentional, I don't know why they be showing up to my house, but I am subscribed to magazines in 2025. I invite you to subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing. All you got to do is hit the button.
I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
And I want to give a special shout out to all the members who joined our last Members Live. It was a bit impromptu last minute, but y'all showed up and showed out. But then the early 90s though, the early 90s, what you want to do with rayon? What you want to do with rayon party shirts and hammer pants? And if you want to join the fun, there is a link to membership in the description box to all the videos, where you'll see options for shallow water and deep water and troubled water. You also have further options if you would like to get those benefits. They are also available in our newly launched Patreon, where you'll see deep water and troubled water, which offers all the same benefits of membership here on YouTube, but also includes the newsletter, Wednesday Waters, which goes out once a week, as well as our community chats. And let me say, I had no idea how much y'all were into gardening till I got on those community chats. It's basically like a premier chat that never ends. You can sign up for that at patreon.com/Reese Waters. And last but not least, I want to show some love, as I've done the last few weeks, starting with Dank and then Deshauna and City Dawn, to my girl Roberta, who sent me this photo of her and her crispy, discouraged, depleted, but never defeated t-shirt, which I thought was a message that probably described how I came into this new Trump administration.
God, if you listen, hell, I can't take it no more.
And yet we soldier on. You can catch that as well as a lot more other options of merch available on my website, reesewaters.com. But I gotta thank Roberta as well as all of you for showing so much love to the channel.